emotions to the brain, going out in style.
Hey everybody, tonight we're debating whether or not Islam is true, and we are starting right now with Muhammad's opening statement. Thanks so much for being with us, Muhammad. The floor is all yours.
Thank you, James, and hello, everybody. I'm here to put the position on why Islam is true. I'm going to approach the debate in a different tactic than what people usually understand of what Islam is, because people quickly run to the curriculum of Muhammad and the way Muhammad understood Islam and told the world about Islam. But I want to start by saying that God indeed took Abraham as his best friend. Therefore, we can conclude that God, who created the skies and land and everything in between, accepted the actions and inputs from Abraham, along with his sincerity and loyalty, and thus became the benchmark to everyone after him. If a man succeeds in a capitalistic market and becomes affluent, people want to know their recipe so that they can achieve the same success. Abraham achieved an unpassed success as a human being. Therefore, one should learn from the way of Abraham to achieve the same success. The state of peace and submission that Abraham had, which led to his success both here and the hereafter, made such a butterfly effect in the history so that his children after him were inspired divinely and naturally to find that mentality and path that Abraham took. Being accepted by God is gauged by how the natural, supernatural, seen and unseen world reacts to you along with your decisions. The mentality, the reasoning, and the approach that Abraham had is what submission is, and that is what Islam means. Moses, David, Jesus, and Muhammad all invited to that state of submission and became influential and were granted a clear authority over all opposing mentalities and teachings. Due to the input of those individuals in the world, which was multiplied and endorsed by God, certain schools and curriculums came from their teaching, which is based on building a community to serve God. As God states in the Quran, the closest to Abraham are those who followed him, and this prophet, Muhammad, and the believers. أَوْلَى لِلنَّاسُ فِي إِبْرَاهِيمَ الَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُ وَهَذَا النَّبِيُّ وَالْمُؤْمِنُونَ. That's the verse from the Quran. By definition, Islam is the submission to God and the will of God. When presented with choices, which we all are presented with choices on a regular basis, one is confident that the help of God himself, directly or through a medium, like an angel, or his stated words that were stated before, would give them the correct decision. Therefore, the decision is not based on impulse, desires, or what the human wants. Rather, they make the decision based on what the truth is and what's best for them and what is around, all derived from God's wisdom. Stating that Muhammad's curriculum is the best curriculum in achieving the state of peace with God is proven by looking at what the Quran is teaching and then understanding the roots of what the Prophet, peace be upon him, derived from the Quran. A true submitter forbids immoralities and invites people to give favor, to go above and beyond expectations. As God states in chapter 98 in the Quran, they were not ordered anything except to serve God sincerely, to pray, and to give alms, or to give from what they were given. As you see, the instructions of submission are very simple. Yet, as someone who ponders upon themselves and the creation around them, a human is a communal being, driven by community and society, because on an individual level, the human is lonely and weak. If the truth is that you're a small piece of wood and the world in front of you is a flame, you have the choice to put yourself to use or stand by and rot with no purpose. Mind you, the fire is burning with or without you. Islam is you believing the truth and doing your part. As God states in the Quran, that God created life and death to test us on which one of us are the best workers, or who's the one who's putting the most effort in the world that belongs to God. I can first foresee my opponent attacking Sunnism and the ideas that came with certain Sunni political leaders who take certain verses and certain sayings and twist them to further their personal agenda. A modern day example is the leader, there's a leader of the sacred house in Mecca, Sheikh Saleh al-Talib. And mind you, to be a leader in such an honorable place isn't an easy achievement. By any means, this man was jailed due to a sermon he did criticizing how the Muslim world is allowing foreign liberal ideas to poison the community. The ruling party that claims to be Muslim jailed that man. The point that I'm making is unjust and evil leaders existed not only in the last century, but ever since the departure of Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, and twisted the religion and attributed things to God and his messengers which are not accurate. There is Sunnat al-Nabi, or the way of the tradition of the prophets, peace be upon them, and then there's Sunnat Allah, the way in the tradition of God. The tradition of God is very simple to grasp, and in the spirit of real Islam, I would like to warn the West of a simple concept because as a Muslim, it's our duty to warn. The tradition of God goes as follows. God gives a blessing to a nation and allows them to grow, conquer, expand, and pretty much inherit their surroundings. Said nation becomes so powerful, they begin to feel that they cannot be defeated. They attribute success and power from themselves rather than their creator. This arrogance is then shown by how said nation begins to oppress others and themselves, based on lies and demonization tactics with sole purpose to sustain their size materialistically. They silence or kill anyone who reminds them of justice, honesty, awareness, intellect, reason, and proofs, all the attributes that the Quran constantly reminds us of. They get a clear reminder and warning that those who oppressed before them are not around. And at this point, very little people believe, while the majority just laughs it off. God saves the believers and destroys said nation. As a person who is from the seed of Abraham and the nation of God, we have seen so many nations and ideas like the Pharaohs, Greek, Romans, Mongols, Persian, Byzantines, Nazis, Vikings, Ottomans, communists come and go over multiple millenniums. But the Jews, Christians, Muslims, and their belief in a single God, the God of Abraham and the way of Abraham, which is submission, did not perish. So America, who has been demonizing Islam for the last 20 years, might be here for now, but it won't be here tomorrow. Yet Islam and the idea of Islam is here now, and submission will be here tomorrow. So in a world where the reality is that the survivor is the one who matters, Islam is always the survivor. Therefore, the ideology of Islam is not only true, but it's also king. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for that opening statement from Muhammad, and we're going to kick it over to Apostate Prophet. But first, want to let you know, folks, if it's your first time here at Modern Day Debate, we are a neutral channel hosting debates on science, religion, and politics. We hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you are from. And hey, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button as we have many more debates coming up. So for example, at the bottom right of your screen, King Crocoduck comes out of retirement to debate David McQueen, Creation Evolution. It's going to be a big one later this month. You don't want to miss it. Hit that subscribe button. And with that, Apostate Prophet, thanks for being with us. The floor is all yours for your opening as well.
Thank you so much, James. And thank you, Muhammad, for that opening statement. I want to share my screen so I can show my presentation, which I do through here and through here, I believe. Yeah, okay. Is it visible?
It is.
Fantastic. So, what do we mean when we say Islam is true? As you can see on this picture, there are a lot of very enthusiastic people down here that cling onto the Kaaba and want to follow the truth. People say that Islam is very simple. It is about believing in one God, in Muhammad as a messenger, and all of that. But if we want to really find out what Islam is, we have to go further than just those ideas. It is true. In order to become part of Islam, you have to say there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. That's how you are officially a Muslim. And people often want to make it look like that's what it is all about, but it's not really. There is so much more. For example, there are essential Islamic claims like that Allah is the same God of the Bible, that Muhammad is the final messenger of Allah, that Muhammad is a perfect guide, that the Quran is sorry, I just got a little bit distracted here. The Quran is the direct word of Allah, and that humans must follow Islam absolutely, otherwise they will go to hell. And with these basic points, there's of course so much more. There's a lot more that must be established in order to come to the conclusion that Islam is true. For example, based on these, if we look at everything that the Quran offers and that Muhammad offers, we get the idea that everything in the Quran is true, according to the Quran. That in the beginning there was only Allah and nothing else. Fine, we cannot really, argue against that. His throne was on the water. This is what the Quran explicitly says, and Muhammad says it in traditions too. So before Allah created the heavens and the earth, his throne was above the water. We can discuss the details of that later in length. He then created and spread the earth above the water, which he created for us humans to walk on. He also put mountains into this earth, by the way, so that the earth doesn't shake with us, as the Quran says. Then he created 7 heavens above us. So, he creates the earth for us, and then he creates 7 heavens above us. If you're noticing that the background of it looks like a very mythical, nice, flat earth with strange skies and objects within the skies and a throne above it, don't be surprised. That's basically how the Quran describes the world. The sky is the lowest heaven. So the sky that we have above us is, according to the Quran, called the nearest heaven or the lowest heaven, or literally the heaven of the earth. Heaven and sky are used interchangeably. They are the same thing. That is the first heaven. This sky is, according to the Quran, a ceiling in which there are no cracks. That's how it's supposed to be, because it is a solid, firm ceiling that Allah built above us. He holds up the sky. If you came until here and everything looks very laughable, very ridiculous, I have to tell you, this is exactly what the Quran tells you. He holds up the sky. So according to the Quran, Allah built the sky above us, and it is He who restrains the sky from falling down on us, and with His mercy. And He also holds it up without pillars that we can see. This is the might of Allah, according to the Quran. Allah also sends rain down from the sky. Yes, in the past, people had to find explanations for certain things, like where rain comes from. Nowadays, we know that rain is in a cycle of evaporation, goes up, comes down through the clouds again, goes underneath the earth. Some of it evaporates, and so on. According to the Quran, Allah sends rain down so we can grow things on the earth. The sun and the moon follow each other. This is literally what the Quran describes. It says that the sun and the moon are constantly following each other, and Allah subjected them to us. According to the Quran, the sun also travels to a resting place. It goes indeed, it travels until it goes to a resting place or a stopping point, literally. The sun will also rise from the west one day. This is not in the Quran, this is in the Hadith, and the vast majority of Muslims believe in this. In the Hadith, Muhammad says that the sun goes somewhere at night and comes from the other side in the morning, and one day it will not come, but it will rise from the west, and that is a sign of the day of judgment. It doesn't make any sense if you actually think about it, but you're not supposed to think about it. According to the Quran, stars are missiles and also an adornment. Allah created the stars in our nearest sky and also uses them as missiles in order to throw them at rebellious devils who try to go up and snatch information that is sensitive between Allah and His angels. Allah created humans, fine. Allah created jinns. In the Islamic mythology, there are also, besides humans, other creations called the jinns who exist with us on this very earth that we are on, and who at night or at a part of the evening go outside to snatch people's belongings and children and so on. If that were true, you would have to be able to track that somehow or see things, float through the sky without any explanation. Unfortunately, that is not really happening. Allah created humans and jinns just so they worship Him, as the Quran says, and He does whatever He wants. But He also created many of us for hell, and we are bound to go to hell. We have hearts with which we do not understand, and we are basically less than cattle, as the Quran says. He created death to test humans, despite creating us all just so we worship him. And he created death to test us, despite the fact that he determined everything before he created us. Everything that we would do, everything that we would say, everything that we would decide, our eventual destination, if we would go to heaven or hell, and so on. Despite all of that, Allah also gave us free will. Don't ask me how it works. The Quran says it so. But despite all of that, Allah also guides and misguides whom he wills. Yes, the Quran also says that. Another contradiction here. Allah cannot guide and misguide whom he wills while giving humans free will. Humans cannot have free will while Allah guides and misguides whom he wills. The Quran also says Allah rewards those who believe and Allah punishes those who disbelieve. But then it also says that nobody can believe unless Allah wants them to believe. Here again, you are supposed to make the connection here between the two. You are rewarded for believing, punished for disbelieving, but nobody can believe or disbelieve Allah unless Allah wants them to believe or disbelieve, which simply is incoherent and self-contradictory. Allah also is the same God who sent the Torah and the Gospel, which are books that are described in the Quran, which, however, do not exist in their actual form if you ask Muslims. Unfortunately, the Quran is entirely ignorant about the contents of the Torah and the Gospel, which are a big refutation of Islam on their own. It also claims that Jews and Christians were at some point guided, but then they went astray. It never explains how exactly and why exactly and when this happened. Finally, everyone must convert to Islam. Otherwise, we will, of course, go to hell. It is our eternal duty to convert to Islam, unless we were created for hell. And it is Allah who created us for hell, and we cannot believe unless Allah wants us to believe, in which case we just have no way out. If it doesn't make sense to you, you are correct. And finally, the Kaaba is the first house built for Allah. This is the Quran's claim, despite the fact that we have no history of the Kaaba until the emergence of Islam. Allah sent Muhammad as a final messenger, not just as a messenger. Final messenger in this sense means there is no more messenger after him, and Muhammad is supposed to bring the end. The Quran also reminds us repeatedly that the end is very near. And finally, there is one hadith, one authentic report according to Islamic sources to point exactly that out. According to the authentic reports, and this is testified by multiple sources, a person asked Allah's apostle, Muhammad, when would the last hour come? Thereupon Allah's messenger, Muhammad, kept quiet for a while. Then he looked at a young boy in his presence, and he said, if this boy lives, he would not grow very old until the last hour would be established. So according to the authentic source here, Muhammad, when asked when the last hour will come, he looks at a young boy in his presence and says, before this boy grows very old, the last hour will be established. I would not want to argue that this boy did not get old, that he is still getting old, that he still lives somewhere, but we just do not know. It is very obvious to me that this boy was a regular young boy in his presence. Muhammad made the claim that the world would end before this boy grows very old, and it simply did not happen, which is why there is no reason to trust Muhammad. Based on all of the incoherence that you have just witnessed, and based on the very clear evidence here that Muhammad is not very reliable as a prophet, I conclude that Islam is false. And with that, I would like to say thank you and stay away from Islam.
You got it. Thank you very much for those openings, gentlemen. And I want to let you know, folks, if you haven't yet, if you have friends who love controversial debates like this, consider sharing this debate with them. You can click that share button down below, and that way you can help spread this neutral platform, as our goal here at Modern Day Debate is to provide a level playing field for everybody to make their case. So with that, we're going to jump into the 6-minute rebuttals. Muhammad going first. Thanks so much. Muhammad, the floor is all yours for 6 minutes.
All right. I'm going to address the Shahada at the end, okay? But I'm going to begin with all the other points that Ridwan here made, and I appreciate that picture you drew. You know, I'm sorry, like, you yourself admitted something about that picture. But so now the first thing that you're doing is you're making a difference between what God is and what Allah is. Allah is just Arabic. As you know, Allah is Allah. So God has many titles, names, which is Ar-Rahman, As-Sami', Al-Khabir. They all start with Al. The ones that I said is the forgiving, the hearing, As-Sami', and the knowing. So if you're going to go with the point that Allah starts with Al, so the first word is the. La is God. So there's one God. That's the same God that's feeding me and feeding you, Ridwan. So there is no difference between that God. The other point that you made was the definition of Islam. Everyone isn't like their body is a Muslim. It's them as a human has to they have to recognize the fact that they've submitted to God, because there's a verse in the Quran that says Aslama lillahu man fi samawati wa man fil ardi karhan wa taw'an wa kathiran min an-nas. Those are two verses that I put together. So the first verse is everything in the skies and the lands have submitted to God. And then the other one is everything in the skies, in the lanes have submitted to God willingly or unwillingly. And a lot of, that one is يَسْجُدُ لِلَّهِ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَكَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ. So the other verse is that everything in the skies and the lanes have already subjugated themselves to God and a lot of the humans. Okay, so your definition of submission is lacking. The other thing is everything in the Quran is true. You said that yourself. When God said that He put His throne on the water, that's where He began creation. And there's many theories that are backed by natural philosophies, like natural sciences, that say that all living creatures came out of water. As God said in the Quran, all living creatures came from water. So His throne starting on water kind of makes sense. And everything is fed from water. Everyone is, and that's another verse that's in the Quran. Everything is everyone takes the same liquid, which is the water. Earth is not the word, sorry, 1 second. When God is talking about the skies and the land, He's not just talking about planet Earth. He's talking about the actual lane that we're walking on. So when you're talking about when God created the earth and the skies, He's not just talking about, the land and the skies. He's not talking just about planet Earth. He's talking about matter, and then He's talking about the skies at that point. You're right, but you're making you're having a fallacy in a sense where that that the heavens and the skies are interchangeable in English, but in Arabic it's the same word, which is sama'. The word of heavens that's not accurate to what the Quran is saying, because to us the heavens is the sky. So God created 7 skies, and God is talking about the skies that's in front of you and the skies on the land. Now your argument about the flat earth, God says in the Quran clearly, wal ardu wa ma tahaha. The word taha is coming from back in Arabia when Prophet Muhammad used to be around. They didn't have chickens like we had today. Like the idea of it, the chickens didn't reach the Arabian Peninsula. They had ostriches that lived in Saudi Arabia at the time, of where Saudi Arabia is now. And their eggs was an oval shaped, it's like the same shape as the earth. And they would say that egg is mathuh, that's the same word that they describe. That egg is the same way they describe the earth. And actually people at the time of Prophet Muhammad would question him, what do you mean the earth is like a egg shape, like an ostrich egg shape, which now we can clearly see that it is. So that flat earth concept is not accurate. So when God is saying He holds up the sky, He's not physically holding it up with His hands. If I can, by my mind, say for example, hold this pen up with my mind, right? So I'm the one who's holding it, by just giving the thought, this pen's hold it up, and imagine my hand's not there. God's doing the same thing with the sky. He is consciously aware that the sky is being lifted up by Him, but it doesn't necessarily need to be by His hand. He's a God. He can move you, move me from one side of this room to the other without anything being present for us to see physically. So now when you're saying that, sorry, I made a note, but I had to write so much because you put so many points, which I would like to talk about them all. A meteor. Okay, so the idea with the meteor, with people know that when the Big Bang happened, the stars didn't necessarily start shooting right away. Okay, so there has been a time until it's like a fuse, and when the star loses its energy, that's when it becomes a shooting star. And in one of the verses, the jinns that are hit by the stars, which those stars are predetermined when they're going to go. So God knew that jinn is going to come at that point to listen to the higher, to the angels to steal the world. But that star was already predetermined that it's going to hit. It was just the jinn was there at the right time, at the right place for that star to hit them. So, and the point that I'm going to back up from the Quran, and this verse, when the jinns themselves said, we used to be able to sit on the skies and listen, and now those who are trying to listen are hit with a star. So there was a point where they were able to listen until that timer, the fuse is up, and now they're getting hit by stars so that they don't know what's going to come. They can't tell because the angels are able to foresee the future where the jinn couldn't. Now, I would like you to see the verse when you're saying that the sun and the moon follows. Actually, there's a verse in chapter 36 that's saying that the sun cannot outpace the moon. So like the sun cannot come close to the moon, which is very clear. As for the sun going from the sun coming out from the west, that's a prophecy. Obviously, that didn't happen yet. But when it does happen, at that point, it's too late for you. But scientifically, we know that if the Earth slows down at a certain speed, at a certain rate, like slows down its rotation at a very slow speed, where people are not affected and falling left and right, and earthquakes are not happening, they can turn back and go the other way, and the sun will start rising from the west. So God, with his ability, can slow down the rotation of Earth and start it the other way, and then the sun rises from the west, and at that point, your point is moot. Missiles, the predestined. I wish I could remember what I wrote there. Unseen. Jinns cause you emotions and thoughts. The ideas of them stealing things and going into the physical world. At that point, they have a bond with God.
Sorry, we will have open dialogue, so you'll have a chance to address some of these other points, Mohammed. But just to keep on schedule, we're going to kick it over to Apostate Prophet for his 6 minutes as well. Go ahead, Apostate Prophet. The floor is all yours.
Thank you so much. Well, first off, I want to say, the opening statement that Mohammed made, I don't understand what it had to do with whether Islam is true or not. I think the opening statement was all about Abraham was a good submitter, liberalism is pretty bad, and Islam is pure, and nations are blessed, but America tries to vilify Islam, but religions like Islam and stuff like that, prevail. I really don't understand where exactly the argument here is that Islam is true, and where exactly, where on what premises, on what arguments, on what kinds of evidences do we build the idea that Islam is true in that opening speech? I'm trying to look if we have if we mixed up the title of this debate, but I'm seeing here that it says, "Is Islam true?" So I just don't really know what to respond to there. Islam is, as a religion, the religion that Muhammad started in the 7th century. According to Islam, it was started way before that. It was the first thing out there. According to us and everybody else, it is a religion started in the 7th century, delivered in the Quran, which is, according to Islam, the authentic word of Allah, which he directly delivered through an angel to Muhammad. And everything that you read in there, in that text, has to be true in order for Islam to be true. And the tenets of Islam are not just, this is a good religion, and, others try to make it look bad, but it's not, and so on. So I really don't know what to respond to there. But when it comes to the rebuttal that Muhammad just made, first off, I would not agree that Allah is the same God.
Wait, that's not fair. You're talking about my opening statement.
I can do whatever I want.
It is technically the rebuttals. You can address whatever you'd like. Yeah. So there's never any agreement earlier in terms of what could be addressed. Yeah. So it's okay next time if you want to say what you want to specify what can be talked about, but otherwise I've got to kind of let it fly.
Yeah, no, sure, I understand.
All right. So I would not agree that Allah is by any means the same God of the Bible, or that he is the God. First off, we have to establish what the God is. I can argue that there is something that created everything, but I would have to really, define that. Islam defines its own God. That God has a history. That God says, according to the Quran itself, that he is the one who revealed the Quran and for whom the Kaaba was built, for example. Allah might mean El-Ilah, and it might have formed into Allah, which means the God, but Allah is also the distinct name of the deity of Islam, whereas the name of the Abrahamic deity, for example, is not Allah. He actually has a name that is the Tetragrammaton, Yod-Ha-Weh-Ha, which is Yahweh, as we say it today, or otherwise. Some people say Yehovah. The Islamic God has nothing to do with that God. The Islamic God simply adopts things from that God through Muhammad, who didn't understand the biblical religion at all. You said everybody is a Muslim, even those who don't know. I don't understand what that point is supposed to convey. The Quran says that only those who believe are Muslims, and those who are not Muslims will go to hell. you said that the verse about water is that the Quran merely points out that everything was created from water. Unfortunately, that's a modern pseudoscientific interpretation, an eisegesis of the Quran. That's not what this is about. The Quran literally says that there was only water, Allah's throne was above it, then Allah created the earth, and then he created the heavens. Now think about it. If heavens refers not only to our sky, but to everything, to the entire universe, then think about this for a second. There is water, right? And Allah's throne is above the water. Allah then creates the earth for us and spreads it out. And then he creates the skies, meaning the universe, all the galaxies and planetary systems and so on. That doesn't really make sense because the water is what we have on this planet. Unless you want to say that there is some eternal water that the entire universe is built on, which is just a very strange claim to make. I said that the sun and the moon follow each other according to the Quran in Quran chapter 91, I believe. Not sure which one that was. I can check that later on. I should have this source somewhere here. He then said that the Quran clearly says that the sun and the moon cannot overtake each other. I agree. It does say that. I just don't understand how that refutes my point. My point is that according to the Quran, the sun and the moon follow each other. They follow each other. In reality, they don't follow each other. The sun is at the center of our planetary system. The planetary system is built around the sun, while the moon revolves around the earth. So the sun and the moon not being able to overtake each other would not refute that point. On the contrary, it would just support my point even further, that the Quran paints a strange picture where the sun and the moon just, are two balls in the sky that follow each other. When it comes to the sun rising from the west, yes, I said it is a prophecy. According to Muslim belief, according to Muhammad, the sun will one day rise from the west. But that, again, is distorted here by Muhammad. He says that could happen when the earth just stops spinning and then, turns around. But we have a very, very clear report in which Muhammad explicitly describes that the sun actually every night goes to a place where it worships and asks Allah to rise again. And one day it will not be given permission to rise, and Allah will tell it to go and rise in the west. That is Sahih Bukhari 3199. And then that morning, the sun will actually literally go back and rise from where it set, which is an actual physical moving of the sun, which is full of ignorance. And when it comes to the Quran being shaped like an ostrich egg, the Quran literally just says Allah spread the earth. It has nothing to do with an ostrich egg. And no Islamic scholar in the past interpreted it as such, except that we do it today. Thank you.
You got it. And with that, we're going to jump into open conversation. Following that, we'll have short closing statements and then Q&A. This is a live debate, folks, so if you happen to have questions, you can @ me in the live chat with your questions or super chats. Go to the top of the list. And with that, thank you very much, gentlemen. The floor is all yours for open dialogue.
Ridwan, I think you're failing on a point on what submission is and what Islam is. What is Islam to you? To you, is that just believing in God and the Day of Judgment, or believing in that Prophet Muhammad that's the only key to be a Muslim?
Well, according to Islam, you have to believe in Muhammad, in Allah, in the Quran, in the last day. You have to basically follow the religion called Islam. That's what being a Muslim is.
Okay, so when Moses said to his people, be patient while Pharaoh is doing what he's doing to us, and be patient and rely on God if you are Muslims. And the word that he said, in kuntum muslimun, if you are Muslims. So why would Moses call his people Muslims? Because the point that I'm making, before you give me your understanding, the point that I'm making is that Muslim, the word Muslim, has a standalone meaning prior to Muhammad. Do you agree there?
I completely agree with that. But according to Islam, Abraham himself, the Quran has a verse which says that Abraham was neither a Christian nor a Jew. He was a righteous submitter. He was a Muslim. The word Muslim is one who submits, which comes from submitting to Allah. But within the context of Islam establishing itself as a religion, from then on, somebody who is a Muslim is someone who submits to the true religion. Anybody else is not.
So now I want to take you back to your point that you talked about the Shahada. Because in chapter 29 of the Quran, it starts Alif Lam Mim أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فليعلمن الله الذين صدقوا وليعلمن الكافرون. So which الذين صدقوا الذين يكذبون. Sorry, I'll have to pull it up to say properly, but in context, it's saying that did the people who said that they say that they believe, did they think that they're going to be left and not tested like we tested those that are before them? So, like, obviously the Jews say they believed, the Christians say they believe, and now we have the 21st century Muslims that say they believe. But God's very clear when we're saying that if we're just going to make the hypothesis that the whole Quran is truth. So anyone who's going to say he believes, either as an individual or as a community, they're going to be tested the same way those that were tested before them. So now if you look at before you interrupt me, if you look at the Jews, they have the Torah and then they have the Talmud, and they use the Talmud to explain what the Torah is, but the Talmud has more contradictions than the Torah. And now if you look at the Christians, for example, the Christians have two things that happen also with the Muslim community. Paul the Apostate came and he wrote a bunch of stuff and he attributed it to Jesus, which, like, it doesn't make sense for what Jesus would say. And let me get to the point that I'm going to make, and then I'll give you your time. You asked for 6 minutes to talk. Let me just finish the point. So now we have Paul the Apostate that wrote a bunch of stuff.
That was actually part of our format with the rebuttal, which you also had. I don't understand why we're talking about this right now.
Okay, well, I'm trying to explain to you where the truth is in the Quran and what a Muslim is. So God already said that he's going to test us like we were tested before us. The Jews failed because they put in other things and attributed it to God, which was not true. Okay. And then the Christians did the same things. They attributed books that were not from God to God, right? And it's very difficult to show them their wrongdoings from a Muslim point of view. But the Muslims fell into the same traps such as, okay, and these are the traps that you picked up on. It doesn't mean that Islam is not true. It means what they're learning is not accurate to what's the teaching or what is being revealed in the Quran. I'll give you an example. When someone draws Prophet Muhammad, right, the whole world goes crazy from the Muslim nation and they go stand up for Muhammad, which is rightfully so. They have to, okay? But if someone sits there and talks about Noah for an hour and a half, the Muslim community is quiet, yet the Quran tells you do not distinguish between the messengers. So that's a test from God that they're failing in. And why? Because they're falling into the same categories where Christians sit there and they talk about Jesus the whole time.
We are in the open discussion section. We are supposed to have an open discussion back and forth, not give long speeches. I just don't understand. What in the world does this have to do with the topic? Why are you bringing this up? I really don't get it.
Because I'm going back to the point, what is submission? To you, what is submission?
Why are we talking about that?
Because I'm saying what people are doing in the 21st modern century is not aligning to what
I don't care about that.
But that's what
I never brought it up.
You're calling as a Muslim. That's what you're labeling as a Muslim. I'm telling you, Jesus was
okay,
a Muslim.
But I never brought it up.
Abraham was a Muslim and Muhammad was a Muslim. So the people that we're doing in the 21st century, what you're thinking is representing Islam. I'm showing you that it doesn't by the Quran.
Okay, I don't understand the point. When did I ever say that Islam is false because of the Muslims today? It has nothing to do with the topic at all.
What you're defining as Islam is what started in the 7th century with the school of Muhammad, which in the first 200 years was the best school ever that the world ever seen. You could see the progress. You could see the singularity. There was a nation from Spain all the way to Afghanistan. That was one big nation that succeeded. But like every other curriculum that came before it, corruption took a part and politics took a part, and it fell apart. That's normal. That's how God tests us to see if we were actually being honest or not. So the whole thing of your whole concept of trying to attack what people perceive as Islam is in 21st century based on what happened after the 7th century, that doesn't explain what submission is. Again, Ridwan, what is submission?
My entire point here, all my arguments, all my premises, which I basically I didn't even put into. I didn't establish like a whole series of premises and arguments and therefore this and that. I made it very simple. I brought up things that the Quran says, things that the Hadith say. Nothing that I said. Nothing that I presented here is just stuff that Muslims randomly picked up and that is not found in the fundamental scriptures of Islam. So I am arguing that Islam, based on all the ideas that it offers in the Quran and the Hadiths, is false because it says a lot of things that are self-contradictory or simply untrue. It is as simple as that. And people sometimes tell me that I'm doing a very hard job. I don't think it's a hard job at all. I think I'm doing something very simple. I'm pointing out that the Quran and the Hadith have a lot of nonsensical claims which can be pointed out very simply by anybody, and I'm just doing that very simple job because nobody wants to do it. And you are now here talking about how my image of Islam is wrong or of Muslims is wrong because I'm interpreting. But what does it matter what submission is?
because we're talking if Islam is true. I'm not talking about 21st century Sunniism and what people preach about Islam.
I don't
telling
care
you
about 21st century
So
Sunnism. I
define
care about the
Islam.
fundamental sources of Islam,
Okay,
the Quran,
so-
the Hadith, and the beliefs presented therein. Do you agree that I say that if those are wrong, then Islam is false? If those were all true, Islam could be true. This has nothing to do with defining.
But you're like, it goes back to the point where you're making contradictions of you not understanding the topic at hand because you do not know what submission is. So, for example, when you're saying that that God is creating people to go to hell, it's not God created people to go to hell. God created the people and gave them a choice, and they're going to hell by their own choices. They chose to be criminals. Okay, so there is free will at play, but because you have free will, God is giving you the correct way to deal with that free will. So Islam is all about the proper choice to make at the right time when the decision needs to be made. So when the ultimate question is there a God? Islam is giving you the answer. If someone's upsetting me, Islam's giving you an answer. Islam is about being like, we don't need to debate what honesty is, do we? We don't need to debate what awareness is. We don't need to debate what justice is. And this is literally what submission is to submit to those things that further you in life. So your idea of Islam,
good topic. I want to ask you a question. So
Appreciate
I don't
that.
believe in Islam, right? I firmly believe that Islam is false. If I die the way I am right now, believing that Islam is totally false and ridiculous, actually, then I would be, by Islamic standards, condemned to hell and punished there in brutal ways. That's what the Quran says. It's undeniable.
Correct.
But
You're causing oppression.
why do you think I don't believe in Islam?
Well, because you're saying, well, the fact that you're sitting here causing doubt.
Okay, but why do I not believe in Islam?
You don't, because you took those choices upon your own.
Okay, but
It's
why
your
did I take
relationship.
those? Why did I make the choice not to believe in Islam?
Because you put yourself in the circumstances to cause doubt. And when you're causing doubt, you're more likely to fail.
So I put myself in the position to cause doubt. I had doubts, but right now I don't
Right.
believe in Islam, right? So I firmly believe that Islam is not true. I came to the conclusion that Islam is not true, right?
Did you do that conclusion on your own?
What does that even mean?
Did you make that decision on your own? Did you come up to that solution by your own?
Yes.
Did someone force you
As
on your own?
a human, I questioned. It didn't make sense to me, and I concluded, no, this can't be true. So Islam is false.
Okay, and God did say to Moses that He's making a test, that the day of judgment is coming, and I'm about to, like, I'm going to make it seem like it's completely concealed. So you witnessed upon yourself today. Like, if I'm writing your story, Ridwan today said that he witnesses that judgment day is not true, Islam is not true, and that's the end of the story. So you made that decision. So now when judgment day does come around, okay, you made that decision. Why would you blame God for the decision that you had?
Pretty simple. Doesn't the Quran also say, as I presented in the, I think that was actually a very, big central part of what I was arguing there. I said that Allah created humans. He determined from the very beginning, before He created them, what they would do. He created humans just so they worship Him, and He created many of them for hell.
Ridwan,
They
what's
cannot
worship?
understand. So,
What's the word worship
so I want to ask you here. Allah creates me.
Wait, before we carry on, let's get to this point, because
determines from the
important.
That's a change of topic.
What's
actually,
worship? No. What's worship? You're talking about God created you to worship. What's worship to you? What in Arabic? What's that mean?
If there was a God, if there is a God, if Allah was true, it would be to acknowledge and to serve Him, or to
So what's the word worship?
Worship. Well, I don't know. What do you want from me? It's worship. Worship.
Can I tell you what the
Acknowledging,
Quran says?
acknowledging, and talking to Him, submitting to Him. That's it.
No, okay. Submitting to God is one point. Serving God is what worship is. So as I said in my opening statement, God makes a difference between ibadah, prayer, and giving charity. He said they were only ordered to serve me, to pray, and to give charity. So as you can see, the prayer in giving charity is separate to what actual worship is. You're a human being on earth. This earth is obviously in front of you. You have a duty on earth to make this world a better place. If you don't, you're a criminal.
This has nothing to do with the topic.
But that's literally what Islam is. Like, Islam
this
is about
nothing to do
action.
with the topic. You're getting into these.
No, brother. You want me to define. You're defining Islam in a different way. You want to go into a political sense.
Okay, you just told me. You just told me that if I don't believe in Islam, then I will go to hell. I asked
Because
you, and you confirmed that, right? So
Correct.
why in the world are we talking about the semantics of what worship is? I'm telling you, if I do not
because you
believe
can't
in
define
Islam
what Islam
today,
is.
if I
But you
don't
have to
believe in
define what
Islam today,
Islam is.
Let's give
Okay.
Apostate, or go ahead, Apostate. We'll give you a couple of minutes just to be sure there's no interruptions.
I today have the choice to believe in Islam or not, right? Believing in Islam means I acknowledge that Islam is the truth, that this religion is true, that Allah exists, that the Quran came from him, that Muhammad is his messenger, and all that stuff. I choose, however, not to do that. I say, Islam is not true. The Quran is not the word of Allah. There is no Allah. Muhammad is not his messenger. The things said in there are not the absolute truth. It's wrong. There are two options here. I believe in it and I worship and I become a Muslim as much as I can, or I reject it because I simply do not believe in it. We don't have to now establish what worship means, what submission means, and all that, because this is what we are talking about. The semantics are entirely irrelevant.
But wait,
do I
you-
believe
how
in
can
it
you-
or do
how
I
can you
not
re-
believe in
One
it?
sec, let's
How-
just give EP
how
a
you're
chance
rejecting
to,
something
No,
you
I'm
don't
done. I'm
you have
done.
anything
It's
understand.
fine.
else?
I'm done. I'm done.
Okay.
It's fine. What?
I'm saying like, how are you rejecting something that you don't understand? So you're rejecting the Quran, you're rejecting Islam, you're rejecting faith, you're rejecting the Day of Judgment. If those are concepts you don't understand, you're rejecting purely on ignorance at this point.
I have no idea what that has to do with the topic. And again, I just don't believe that these things are true, and therefore I'm a disbeliever. That's it.
Yes, you are a disbeliever, but because you have not yet understood what the concept of Islam is. You don't understand the concept of Islam. إذ قال ربك لإبراهيم أسلم قال أسلمت وجهي لرب العالمين. When God told Abraham submit, he said, I submit to you. I agree
Are
with
Christians Muslims?
if a Christian stops saying lies about God and saying that 3 equals 1 or that Jesus is God,
So
at that point, he's a Muslim.
short answer, no, they're not Muslims. Are Jews
That's-
Muslims?
No, brother, it's not a short answer. Even
It is a very short
point.
answer. Christians do not do these things that you just said. Therefore, they are not Muslims. Very simple.
But brother, there is a verse in the Quran that states multiple times, من الذين هادوا والذين ناصروا والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. From the people who are Jews and Christians and a different sect of Abrahamic religion as well, those that believed in God and did righteous deeds, so they worked correctly. Okay, they did good for the world. They don't have fear, nor are they troubled on the day of judgment. I'm not sitting here to say that
if Christians did that, they would no longer be Christians, they would be Muslims. So the question, are Christians Muslims, is answered very simply by saying, no, they are not Muslims. We don't have to go into the rest of it. Second question, are Jews Muslims?
Okay, so there is a difference between a Muslim and a mu'min. So there's Jews that are Muslims, but they're not mu'mins, they're not believers. But we can't call them what you're defining as the 7th century Islam, because they haven't accepted the prophet. Because if a prophet comes from God, you have to accept him. But they're still submitted. Because like, for example, there's a verse in the Quran that says, don't say that you're a believer, say that you've submitted. And then when the faith comes in, then you're a believer. So it's the same thing with the Jews. They've submitted to the will of God, but they haven't believed completely. It's like, take, for example, someone who's a bodybuilder. I can technically be a bodybuilder if I go to the gym and do one exercise and take the protein. But someone who's more dedicated, he has a better body. And it's the same thing with submission in Islam. Someone who's more dedicated in serving God is closer to the truth. It's not all Jews are going to hell. Not all Christians are going to hell. If someone is dedicating themselves to God and couldn't, because of their programming, and God is someone who's aware, he can allow him to go to heaven. I don't think all Jews and Christians.
Okay, I don't understand that has anything to do with the topic.
Again, I go to the point. You don't know what submission is. You don't know what Islam is.
Which has nothing to do with the topic. If you are, let's say that we disagree about the specific details of what exactly submission is. I don't really care, honestly. What we are talking about is if you believe in this religion that we have or don't believe in this religion that we have. If you believing in this religion that we have means acknowledging its message, and not believing in it means not acknowledging but in fact rejecting its message, denying its message. I deny its message simply because I have a brain which Allah created according to the Islamic religion, with which I came to the conclusion that this religion cannot be true. According to the Islamic religion, according to the Islamic tradition and the Quran, it was Allah himself who determined way before he created me that I would, with the capabilities that I have, which are completely 100% in Allah's control, come to the conclusion that Islam is not true. If I then go to hell for this, then that means I basically go to hell based on what Allah decided for me long before he created me. Whether I make a choice in this life or not is entirely irrelevant, because the choice that I make was by definition necessarily also determined by and decided by Allah long before he created me. Everything that I do was necessarily decided by Allah. So
actually, everything is pre-programmed by God. Everything has a predetermination by God, a predestination. Everything is predetermined by God, and you made your choices. So, for example, for me to like put my hand in a fire, I get burned. Okay, I can't say God burnt me, right? Because I'm the one who put my hand in the fire. Yeah. You chose to take the route that you had. You always, in any decision you have two choices. You are the one who personally first took the choice to cause self-doubt to yourself that the Quran is not true. And instead of fighting that doubt, what you did, you gave into that doubt.
Okay, let's say you're putting your hand in the fire. Let's say you put your hand in the fire, right? Right now, imagine that you are standing there and you put your hand in the fire, literally. Let's just talk about it literally.
But you have a warning before you put it there, by the way, because it burns it before you touch it.
Okay, you put your hand in the fire, right? When you put your hand in the fire, is this something that Allah decided before he created you, or is it something that is completely outside of Allah's decree?
No, God decided that you have the hand. God decided what you are able to do with the hand. God decided what fire is. God put the fire in front of you. Your decision, that connection, that's 100% up to you. But God already programmed that if you do that connection, this is what's going to occur. Think of it as a pre-programmed computer.
So Allah did not decide that I would put my hand in the fire.
God didn't order you. God allowed you. There's a difference.
I ask you again. So you're saying Allah did not decide that I would put my hand in the fire.
That's your decision. That's your decision. God decided to allow you.
Okay.
And you made the decision to go with it.
Okay, can you answer my question? Did Allah decide that you would put your hand in the fire? Yes or no?
No, that's your decision, your action.
So Allah did not decide it. That means Allah did not decide everything that would happen before he created everything. No. That means you are denying the fundamentals of Islam and denying one of the pillars of the Islamic faith.
You don't understand what I mean by God.
Yes, exactly.
1 second. I'm saying to you, you're not understanding what I mean by God didn't decide it. God didn't order you, nor did he push you to put your hand in the fire. God decided what happens when the fire touches you. God decided that you have the ability to touch the fire. You made the connection on your own. So when you go to hell, you have nobody to blame except yourself. It's not God putting your hand in the fire. No, it is.
That's not what I asked, however. I didn't ask that Allah.
You're asking if God.
I didn't ask if Allah programmed it or whatever it is. Did Allah decide that I would put my hand in the fire?
No.
Was that a decision that he made? Was it determined by him? Yes or no? No. That means that Allah did not determine everything, which contradicts with
your decision
with the pillars, with the basis of Islamic faith.
Wait. I think you have a problem. I think you have a problem with an assumption and a determination. So God already determined the world around you, but God already assumed every single action that you're going to make, and it's a godly assumption, so it's never going to be wrong. He put the fire in front of. He put the fire in front of you. He didn't determine it. It's like a sandbox in front of you. Okay, he's the one who determined the laws that are around you. He determined the programming that's around you, but you're the one who's putting the input. Well, there's a verse. Oh, well, ma sha Allahu ma abadnahum. So if God willed, we wouldn't have been worshiping the angels. They're just making an incorrect assumption. They're going they're connecting the dots incorrectly. You have a free spirit. You have a free will. There's a programming in front of you. Whatever road you take, the end result is no. Because people before you took the same road and went in the same path and took the same result. You chose the road of humility.
You're simply
That's what Islam is, bro.
you're distorting your own religion. You're distorting your own script,
I'm not
your own book. The Quran says that Allah determined everything. He knows everything. He wrote down everything.
Yeah,
he
he
decided
determined you're
everything. And Muhammad says, according to the Hadith, that before he created us, he wrote down and decided our aftermath, decided what we would do, whether we would become wicked or believers, whether we would go to hell or heaven. And the Quran even says, this is actually one of the pillars, one of the pillars of faith, of Iman. You have to believe in that in order to be a Muslim according to the Islamic tradition. And the Quran says, let me quote it. In fact, the Quran says that nobody will believe unless Allah wants them to believe.
Correct.
It is not for one of you to believe unless Allah wants you to believe. This means
Wills. Insha. It's not once.
that is literally the same thing. If you say wanting to do something, that's insha.
No, insha means that the person put the right input. So because God said that if someone puts X input, he becomes a believer. It's not someone who's a criminal becomes a believer. They have to put the X inputs. So you have the choice to put in the pot what you're going to eat. You can't put in the pot apples and then have a blueberry pie. And that's what that means. God wants you to be a believer, then he's going to put you in a situation for you to be a believer, and it's up to you to decide to do it or not. And everyone had that same choice. We gave them the both roads. So you in front of you is always two roads right now. And I promise you this, Ridwan, if you think about it, contemplate and find a reason to believe in God, and you go into the path of repentance, which I think is going to be very difficult, but God is willing to guide you.
So let's establish this. I don't believe in Allah. I don't believe in Islam because I came to the genuine conclusion that Islam is definitely not true, right? I, with my capabilities, with everything that Allah created for me, with my environment, my upbringing, my brain, the mind that I have, the intelligence, everything that I have, I came to the conclusion that Islam is definitely not true. In fact, I am so convinced by it that I find it an important mission on my behalf to go out here and to tell people, hey, Islam is nonsense, guys. It is false. It's definitely not true. Look. So with everything Allah has given me, I came to the conclusion that Islam is false simply really because I don't believe that it is true. But I will be punished for that in the afterlife because I genuinely could not believe that Islam is true. So that means I will be punished for being ignorant, for being 100%. Stupid, or for being blind, one of those things, which, by the way, are entirely out of my control because I am purely the creation of Allah, and He decides exactly my environment, my upbringing, my brain, and so on.
No, because you'll be sitting in hell thinking to yourself, you know what? God gave me fame. God gave me money. God gave me X and X. What did I do with it? I went on the chain of bigotry. I went on the chain of hate. I hated what God revealed to other people. I didn't think it was from God. So you made those decisions on your own.
I spread hate against the things that God did because I didn't believe that they were from God.
You spread hate against people who believed in God.
First off, that's a lie. But secondly, even if I did do that, it would be that. Hate. But secondly, it would mean that I spread hate against something that I believe to be definitely false, not something that I know is right.
But exactly, that you made the decision that it's false. It doesn't mean that you're saying is the truth.
Yeah. Did I willingly do something evil?
Yeah. At that point, you're willingly doing it.
Did I willingly do something that I know to be evil?
Yeah, because you took the choice on your own. You're not empathetic enough to see the butterfly effect that you're going to do. Because every choice you make has an effect.
That would mean I have to know that it is evil, what I'm doing, which means I have to know that Islam is the truth, and which is why I am spreading, discontent or hate or whatever it is against it, knowing that it is evil to do so. But we just established that I clearly believe that Islam is false and nonsensical and dangerous.
So it's a nonsensical argument when you're sitting there insulting.
That means when I refute Islam or mock it or say it is dangerous, then I am not doing something that I don't
understand.
Nothing to
How
do with
you're
the topic.
refuting something you don't understand?
Can you please let me make the point?
Yeah,
That
go
means
ahead.
that means I am refuting something which I clearly do believe is not good. So I
You're
am not
refuting
knowingly.
something you don't understand.
Exactly. That means I am not doing something knowingly evil. I'm doing something without knowing that it is evil. That means
Because
I
you
am
didn't
not
take the
doing
time
evil.
to listen. It's not. It's here. Here.
You
Your
just
problem is
contradicted yourself so many times
no.
within that 1 minute.
No. The contradiction is coming from you not being able to listen. Your problem here is not the comprehension. It's being able to listen to someone else. You're making an incorrect choice. Someone's telling you you're making an incorrect choice, but you don't like to be told you're wrong. So you keep pushing along the same road until the pain hits you, and then you're gonna think about it again. So it's
I
the
don't go
fact
out
to
killing
you.
people when they tell me that I'm wrong. But
But what do you mean? War existed before Prophet Muhammad and after Prophet Muhammad. War is something that's normal in everyday life.
yeah,
So
it's
aside from that point,
we don't need it today. But
what is Islam? We don't need war today.
We don't
Wait.
we don't need war over people telling you that.
Okay, let's
religion is
talk about
wrong
some
and something like
prophecies.
that.
Let me
But
tell you about some
okay,
prophecies in the Quran. Is true.
before we move on from that, let me
Go ahead,
quickly,
man.
please let me speak for. I'm completely put off again from that point. Okay, let me speak until I'm done here. Just a few seconds, not more than a minute.
Do you want 6 more minutes?
I just want you to reflect upon that. Oh, you are offended because I stuck to my agreed debate format. Wow, amazing! So
How am I offended? I'm asking you if you want 6 more minutes, man. Like,
it sounds weird. I thought you were offended about that. I don't know. It's just the
no,
second
man,
time you bring it up.
Listen,
So
but
look.
because-
So okay, whatever. So I asked you. I clearly established that I don't believe in Islam because I know that it is false, right? I sincerely do not believe that it is true. That means that whatever Islam tells me is good, I don't think that it is good. Whatever Islam tells me is evil, I don't think that it is evil because I don't believe that Islam is true. I am 100% convinced that Islam is false. Whether I understand it or not is entirely besides the point. Now
Ridwan,
I sit here.
I'll bring it to you in a different way.
Didn't we just agree that you would let me talk until I'm done for less than a minute? I sit here and attempt to refute Islam, mock Islam, and point out that it is dangerous. But we just established that I don't know that it is true. Yet when I asked you whether I am doing something that I know is evil, you told me yes. How in the world does this work? If I don't know that it is true, and if I don't know that dissing it is evil, then how am I doing something that I know is evil?
Because put the concepts of Islam to the side. Do you know what the hurt principle is, for example?
Nothing to do with the morality that Islam presents to us.
Ridwan, that's not my question. So yes or no. Do you know what the hurt principle is?
You mean the harm principle?
The harm principle. Sorry. The harm
Yes,
principle.
sure. Yes, I
right?
know.
Okay. So Islam takes it the next step. It's not about the harm principle. It's not just about causing harm. It's about oppression. Okay. So you are oppressing more than you're helping. That's why you are a criminal. It's got nothing to do with Islam. Because as I said, there's people who are Muslims before Quran, before Muhammad, but you're not understanding that concept. You're going with why Islam is dangerous. Islam, like Prophet Muhammad's school of philosophy, is to eliminate temptation, while Jesus' school of philosophy was to resist temptation. In the long run, eliminating temptation is a better approach, because if you have a bar in your city, for example, if you have a bar in your city, and if you take the style Jesus took, where you're going to go sit with the people who are drinking and trying to help them and trying to show them, if you're not as certain and sure as Jesus, in the long run, you're more likely to follow the person who's hurting you. Okay. But in Muhammad's school of philosophy is that, no, we need to remove this bar from our community because this bar is going to hurt our community. It's got nothing to do about like that person's individual. It's about the whole community. And I don't know what your like full-time job is. And I don't mean this as a hit, but there's certain things you learn in life, and it's how to manage a team, for example. So managing 3 people is one thing, but managing a whole community is a whole different animal on its own. So you're sitting there laughing, but you put yourself in a political position. You're going to have to take means that for you, it's not going to make sense. But he's
okay. With all due respect, I really don't think that you understand that you understand the logic here. that you understand what is being said, I really don't think that you can actually respond to what is being said because you don't understand it.
Ridwan, what you're saying is that using the Quran
my sincere
suggestion
would be after this debate, if you want to find somebody who is not a Muslim, not biased, who is probably a professor of, I don't know, debates of philosophy, sit down with them, show them this debate and tell them, did I understand him or not? What was the problem? And let them criticize you. They will tell you one thing, you are not responding to anything that I said because you're not understanding.
If I repeat your point of view, would that mean I understood you?
You did not repeat my point of view. But look at this.
Wait. Answer me. If I repeat the point of view that you said.
No, I just let you speak for a long time because I just wanted to.
Gentlemen are just. We have to have 1 second. I just want to jump in because we have to. If both of you are speaking at the same time, then they can't hear either of you. So I just want to be sure. We just gave AP a good amount of time, so we can give you about a minute, Muhammad, to respond, and then we'll go back to AP.
Okay, so AP is saying that my way of judging if someone is evil or not is through the Quran. If he's a person that rejects the Quran, rejects Islam, right? So him being like rejecting the idea, why would he think that what he's doing is evil? Because he's not putting himself on the same standard that what I'm seeing the world as to be. Is that correct?
I don't know if that's correct at all. I'm completely lost for words right now because this is the weirdest debate that I've ever had.
Because I'm coming to you from a different angle.
No,
you're expecting me to sit here and talk about Sunnism.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me say this again. So you said to me that when I established that I don't believe it is evil to criticize Islam, but I asked you whether I am doing something that I know is evil, you said yes. Then when I said, how can I know? How can I do something that I know is evil if I don't even know that it is evil because I don't agree with its ideas and its concept? You suddenly started telling me about how Islam is more than just the harm principle. It says not to oppress and not to do this and that. Okay, fine, everything wonderful. But you only define criticizing Islam and thereby oppressing people as evil because it is your Islamic religion, your Islamic philosophy, which teaches you that it is evil to oppress people by criticizing Islam. If I don't agree with your philosophy at all, if I think it is complete nonsense and we don't need that, then how in the world do I knowingly do something that is evil by criticizing Islam when in my philosophy it is not considered evil to criticize something that is false?
Okay, so at that point, the point that we're at that we don't have a common ground is you're saying that Islam is false. So yes. You don't think it's an evil for you to criticize Islam,
exactly.
Even though Islam itself is saying you that is an evil, right?
Yes.
So the concept here, that the key word, and I don't know too much about you, Ridwan, but are you a believer of any religion or are you an atheist?
I'm an atheist.
You're an atheist. So in your world of view, and I apologize, and I want to be as kind as possible. An atheist doesn't have the concept of evil or good anyways, because to you, from what I understand, an atheist is we're just a bunch of atoms that are fucking put together and here we are kind of thing. So like the concept of evil isn't something that you can compute, nor can you calculate it, nor does it have empirical values. It's not something that you can measure. So the concept of evil and good isn't something that you can measure.
Well, fantastic.
Just because purely because you're an atheist.
Fantastic.
And don't take offense in that. Is that you answering?
Okay. Number one, being an atheist says nothing about whether you have a concept of evil and good or not. You can be an atheist, which means you don't believe in God, while following different philosophies which may or may not have a concept of good and evil. So that is entirely besides the point. But thank you, secondly, for making my point also. If I, according to you, don't have a concept of good and evil, then that means that I cannot know that it is evil to criticize Islam and to vilify Islam and to tell people that Islam is dangerous. So how in the world can I be doing something that I know is evil and therefore be punished for doing something that I know is evil?
Because now there's certain things that we don't need to debate, which is honesty, right? So there's nobody talking here about debating what honesty is. We all know what honesty is. It's being honest to yourself. So if you are debating something that's hurting a group of people, right? Like hurting them onto a point where you're getting death threats, which I could see why. You understand? So that means you're causing a lot of pain by you throwing the first stone.
Wow. So let me get this straight. I should know that what I'm doing is evil because I'm criticizing a religion so much that I get death threats, which should show me that I know that it is oppressive and bad. But you think when people preach Islam, including that Islam should be imposed on us, or that apostate should be executed.
I took it to the highest point. Hey, there's no.
And that is not.
Hold on, just to hear one at a time.
Ridwan, you're saying that Islam. So for a Muslim to be a Muslim, he has to kill you for apostasy?
No, I have never, literally never said that, and don't believe that. I've never proposed the idea. It has nothing to do with this at all.
So hold on. You said that Muslims have to kill apostates, right?
No, I didn't say that.
Then make your point again.
Okay.
Make the point of apostasy one more time.
Many Muslims believe that Islam should be imposed, that Islam should be turned into a state religion, that Islam should play a role in society, which means it necessarily interferes with our lives. And according to the Islamic tradition, it is also imposed that apostates, meaning people who leave Islam, should be put to death. The details of it are debated among Muslims.
Okay.
If by your standard,
so why are you going to the extremist? Why are you going to the extremist point of view as a way to disprove?
You would probably understand me if you just let me speak for one goddamn time.
I apologize.
So if we apply your standard and say I should be knowing that I am doing something evil or oppressive because I'm doing something so bad that people react to me strongly, then we should also apply that same standard to Muslims who want to establish Islamic societies, which are oppressive and authoritarian, and to Muslims which want to establish Islamic societies where apostates like me are executed. And we should then say that they knowingly do something evil, which is why they should be punished for that. That's what I'm getting.
Who's trying to establish that and where it's working? Tell me one country. Tell me one country where Islamic Sharia law is like the Islamic Sharia law that Sunnis preach.
Should I tell you one country that is in which Islam plays a role in the government and in which Islam is influential?
No, not it plays a role in the government, because even nowadays we could see Christianity playing a role in the government in a state country like America. So tell me a country where it's 100% theology. Theocracy, sorry.
That is a ridiculous expectation to make. I don't
know. Why? Because the first caliphate, the first Islamic caliphate after Prophet Muhammad, that was a theocracy. That wasn't a political state.
Okay, let's take them for example. Let's take Muhammad for example. Muhammad established a society where Islam should rule. It should be the government, right? The caliphs after him established a caliphate, which people now refer to as the Rashidun Caliphate, the rightly guided ones, which are an Islamic society which spread Islam by inviting people or otherwise fighting them and spreading Islam. Now, Islam rules the society, right? People are then under the moral laws of Islam and must fully obey it. But a lot of people are hurt by that so much that they would rather die than submit themselves to that. Which means,
how are you making that assumption?
Which means, I'm sorry. Are you telling me that people lovingly said, "Oh, come and make us Muslims. Come take our country"?
Brother, it wasn't the fact that you're talking on a general perspective, like you have the voice for everyone that lived in those nations.
I do not. I never made such a claim. Are there people? Did people resist Islamization?
Did certain people resist? Yes. But did they all put to death? No.
Okay, fantastic. Was never my point. If you listen to me, that was never ever my point. You told me.
But you made it seem like it was an oppressive nation, and it was quite the opposite.
Yes, you are telling me that I am being oppressive by criticizing Islam, and the evidence for that is that I get death threats. And I'm telling you, but by that logic, Islam should be, or those Muslim societies should be considered oppressive because they spread, but people resist. So that means if people resist, then that should be evidence that the Muslims are knowingly oppressing people and committing evil. This is your standard, not mine.
Because you got to look at reality. Push everything to the side. You got to look at the reality. Someone is trying to impose a way of life at any point of time in reality. Even now, right nowadays, we're having a fight with Western liberalism liberty mentality, liberal mentality. So someone's always trying to impose a way. So why wouldn't we have the right in this game of chess to play our moves like everyone else is playing our moves? Being a Muslim doesn't mean you're submissive to everybody. It means you submit it to God. And in the way of oppression,
it has nothing to do with the topic. We're jumping to something completely different again.
See,
the topic was whether I am knowingly committing evil or not. That is the topic.
Brother, but it's hard for you to gauge what evil is when your sense of morality is very
Exactly. I don't believe that it is evil to criticize Islam. I don't believe that there's anything wrong with it. I don't believe that Islam is true. I don't believe that Islam is good.
Do you agree?
So how can I be judged by that standard then?
Because I can go back to Futra, which is the natural aspect of the human being. I have an easy question for you. There's 100,000 man-made religions in the world, but there's one right religion, and that religion is peace. Do you agree?
Lucky.
Do you agree?
No, I don't.
You don't agree that peace is the way?
No, that's complete gibberish. I don't
Okay, you want to talk? This is gibberish for you, but now let me hit you with some verses. The word Sharia. شرع لكم من الدين ما وصى به نوحا والذي أوحينا إليك ووصينا به موسى وعيسى وإبراهيم وموسى وعيسى من قبل نقيموا الدين ولا تتفرقوا فيه كبروا على المشركين ما تدعوهم عليه. Sharia, God inscribed to you what He inscribed to Noah, what He inscribed to Muhammad, to Abraham, to Moses and Jesus, to be one community, abstaining, one nation, okay, and do not divide. And people who wants to cause division, those are the criminals. You and by
your standards, that means we should impose Islam because Islam is what is peaceful. And if we don't accept that, then we are evil. And
I'm not saying we have to.
That is. I mean,
your concept of Islam
is really funny. It is really funny that you don't see the irony of this. Do you think Islam should play a role in the government? Do you think a society should be an Islamic society? Okay, 100%. So that means you want to impose Islam.
Brother, it's the understanding of what Islam is. I'm not going why what. Yeah. You see, Ridwan, this is who are you calling on?
Okay, so
when you're saying, "Oh my God," who are you calling on?
It is how language works. It's a figure of speech. Oh, okay. I'm sorry if you have difficulty understanding.
Hold on, 1 second. This is the
that's not an
There's
argument.
There's a point.
That is ridiculous.
1 second, gentlemen. Hold on, just to be sure that we can hear both.
I said, "Oh my God," therefore Islam is true. See?
No, you said, "Oh my God," therefore you don't mean what you're saying. So when I'm telling you, you do not know what submission means. It's the same thing. You think you understand what Islam is, but you don't.
Okay, case in point. Islam is true because I said, "Oh my God," case closed. And end of topic. I lost. Islam is true. I admit because I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah. Because naturally you believe in God. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that something is a very simple concept. You're picking up and choosing certain things in the Quran that can be answered to you, which you choose not to accept. But you're missing like a whole big portion of the Quran. When Moses is called a Muslim, when Abraham is called a Muslim, when God's telling you to ponder about the Quran, when Jesus is literally asking his people, "Are you guys Muslim?" So what's Muslim to you? What's Islam to you? Because if you want to just talk about how Shias and Sunnis look at the concepts of Islam, trying to protect their communities from outside influences, that's a whole different conversation.
Okay,
but what's the definition of Islam?
You complained that a Saudi preacher was arrested, right?
Correct.
What was he arrested for? What does he believe in? What does he advocate for?
He said that the people who are bringing in certain Western ideas and making concerts to show that how feminine men is an okay principle in our community, this is not what we've been taught, and this is against what we've been taught, and this is not something that we should be okay with.
Fantastic. So, and you feel very sad for this guy. You think this guy had the right ideas. He wanted to preserve an honest Islamic society. So let me just establish a few things and check with you if you are, if you agree with that.
Got to go to the. Is this something that might fit in your closing statements? It doesn't have to, but otherwise we are at that point.
Whatever. Yeah, sure.
Let's jump into the closing statements, ladies and gentlemen. The Q&A is coming up pretty quick right after the closings. But first, we'll start with Muhammad with your closing statement. The clock is set for 4 minutes. The floor is all yours.
I believe my opponent has a lot of hate and bigotry towards a concept that he doesn't understand. There are some valid points that he makes when how certain 21st century Muslims approach the idea of Muslims, and they have extremist point of view, which is not correct. But for the last 20 years after September 11, my community has been undergoing a lot of demonizations. We're in a position that's very similar to the Jews pre-World War II that are right now concentration camps like there are in China are set up that would kill a bunch of Muslims. Most of the world wouldn't care because we have been demonized for the last 20 years. You're adding to the hate. You're not helping it. But you as a person don't understand what Muslim is or an Islam is, because when I'm asking you, how is Jesus a Muslim? How is Moses a Muslim? How is Abraham a Muslim? When the word definition of Islam you don't know, which is submission to God. So sitting there talking about political differences and how we're trying to save our communities from certain influences that we don't agree with, you're sitting there and buckling up real quick and you're going to certain things that don't matter in this conversation. Because the matter is, people are getting hurt. We are in a very difficult position in the world. And the same administration that went and bombed Iraq, saying that they had weapons of mass destruction, failed to produce the weapons of mass destruction. That's the same administrations that said that a bunch of Muslims went and destroyed the towers on this very day 21 years ago. And we've been under that radar and under that gun for the last 21 years. And for you to expect us not to be harassed and not to say something about it and not to act in extreme ways when we don't have the resources, when we don't have that certain political power and the sway in the world, for us not to react to people who are hurting us and criticizing things that we very love. It's not about insulting our mothers. It's not insulting, you're insulting literally the word of God to us. And whatever, if someone calls himself God, he's technically saying that I'm worshiping him. And if you're saying that what I'm saying is false, that's fine. But to you to sit there and make a mission about it, to destroy us and what we believe in, and at this point you are an enemy, and this is how it goes. This is what the reality is. And welcome to the world, my friend.
We'll jump
good job advocating for terrorism.
We'll jump into the closing statement for Apostate Prophet. And want to remind you folks, a couple of things. In particular, we hope you feel welcome no matter what walk of life you're from, whether you be Muslim, atheist, you name it. Thrilled to have you here. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. And with that, we're going to go into AP's closing statement.
First off, I want to thank Mohammed very much for briefly advocating and justifying Islamic terrorism for all of us here in front of our audience. I hope everybody can sit here and look behind the disgusting face of playing the victim and see the advocacy for Islamic terrorism, for Islamic violence, which should be eradicated in this world. Yes, I'm a bigot. I'm a bigot, as you can see. I'm apparently a bigot, therefore Islam is true. The closing here was all about a political appeal to please feel sorry for us because we are good. If you don't feel sorry for us, then we might hurt you and kill you. Sorry, but that's just what we do. Unfortunately, it has nothing to do with the topic, which is Islam true? Maybe we should have agreed to discuss the topic, is Islamic terrorism justified? In which case, my opponent would probably say yes, and I would say no. Or he would say no, because when we do it, it's not terrorism. But to the actual topic of whether is Islam true, oh yeah, despite the fact, I also want to point out the obvious here. He said that he talked about extremism and how we have a misunderstanding of Islam and all of that, whereas he clearly advocates for a society in which Islamic law is established, and all the people out here who are free, who go for individual freedoms, who enjoy individual freedoms, would be oppressed and possibly put to death in brutal ways. That's what he advocates for. That is the original Saudi Arabian tradition that the Saudi Arabian preacher wants to go back to, for which he was arrested because he is inviting these stupid concepts of freedom and liberalism and all that. The West is heaven for Muslims. The Islamic world is darkness for everyone who is not a Muslim, and also very much for Muslims, which is why half of Muslims want to flee, even if it is by illegal immigration. Yes, I'm serious. Look at the recent polls by Arab Barometer. So,
they're bombing the shit out of us.
But when it comes to the actual topic of whether Islam is true or not, we can very clearly see that Islam is false. We have established it here. Muhammad said ridiculous things. The Quran says ridiculous things. None of it can be justified. Muhammad made a prophecy that the world would end soon. It obviously didn't end. And it cannot be opposed by a Muslim apologist who instead sits here and wants to justify violence in the name of Islam. I think that says it all very much. Thank you, everybody, and stay away from Islam.
Well, by the way,
there was a closing speech. There was a closing speech.
Gotta go into the Q&A.
Closing speech. You have no time. Thank you.
I do want to jump in. This one, if you want to address it, I'm sure one of of these questions will probably have something to do with the topic that you're wanting to address, Muhammad, and that's a perfect opportunity to get it in there. But Malavia, thanks so much for coming by and for your super chat. Said hi, James. Hi, Apostate Prophet. And thank you very much, Malavia. Glad to see you. Flamio says, why is Islam afraid of drawings of Muhammad? IBN Abdullah. If he is the last prophet, why did Joseph Smith get those gold tablets from God?
Well, okay, just to quickly say that nobody knows the hour except God. So if someone's saying that Prophet Muhammad said that he knows the hour, that's not true. A. B. The reason that why we like there is no the books that are talking about the Mormon books that are talking about God is giving Jesus also divine attributes as well. So it's not something that God would say. It goes against what God said before, while the Quran doesn't.
You got it. Thank you very much for your question. The Muslim apologist says, so the best argument AP has is disputing the metaphysical.
Oh yeah, apparently when I say that that the sun and the moon don't follow each other, that the sun doesn't can't rise from the west one day, that it doesn't go to a resting place, that the sky is not held up because it doesn't need to be held up, that the earth was not created on top of water,
right? But
that there are not seven heavens. Please be quiet. That there are not seven heavens and so on. That I'm apparently refuting the metaphysical, which is just a horribly idiotic point to make. But
all right, and then when Prophet Muhammad said.
We'll give you a
Sorry,
chance to
when
respond,
Prophet
Muhammad,
when Prophet Muhammad, yeah, it is. When Prophet Muhammad said that when people are oppressing each other, watch out when the sky comes with some clear smoke that's going to be oppressive to the people, and it's a clear punishment to the people. If we blow a bunch of nukes that God knows there were nukes on the world, when those are blown up and the punishment comes and you guys can't breathe, then you can see who's saying the truth.
Horribly taken out of context. Muhammad also was actually, guys, Muhammad the prophet, who was rightly guided by Allah and who knew the truth, he was scared of clouds. I'm not joking. According to the authentic hadith, authenticated by Islamic scholars, whenever he saw a cloud approach that was like a little bit dark, he would get very scared, according to the reports, and then he would say, I don't know if Allah will bring us blessing or evil.
Forward. This one from Digibral NTP says, Iblis did the work with soul lure system. Amazing debate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Muslim apologist says, AP, let's not forget that your followers consist of those who believe that the sea splits into two and that literally God walked the earth. Hypocrisy?
What does it have to do with anything with the topic here?
This one from the Muslim apologist says, Brother Muhammad, AP is pepper spraying you, and says, ask AP what he believes. Go ahead, ask him, Muhammad.
Brother just asked him, so he can answer it on his own. But it doesn't matter what he believes. It's not like he's changing anybody's point of view.
This one coming in from Digibrail NTP says, Brother Muhammad, I looked into that ostrich situation. It is about how ostrich prepares earth before laying eggs, not the egg itself.
Stop trolling, man.
This one from, are they trolling? I don't know. Franco Trullo says, does Allah submit to his own will?
God doesn't have a gun.
Daniel Merfard, let me know if I pronounced it, Marinfard, thank you very much for your question. This one is, do you believe that apostates, this is for Ridvan or AP, do you believe that apostates should be killed? No, this is actually from Muhammad. Do you believe that apostates should be killed per religion of peace, yes or no?
So for me, if a person, the Quran says there is no compulsion in religion. So if a person wants to turn away, and I can show you many verses where the Quran is saying like, they keep fighting you until you turn away from your religion. And those who die, who are not believers, their works in life is worthless and they have eternal punishment. But it doesn't say that they were killed. They just died. So that's another proof that you don't have to kill people. But in cases with Ridwan, where it's like, he left Islam, that's his choice. God will deal with him. But then he's now being an enemy while he's inciting hate and causing problems. That's going to hurt me, my community, and my family. Yeah, at that point, he's a target. And I'm going to fight him how he's fighting me.
I hope the West becomes a place where your laws for others are applied to all of you.
Yeah,
what do you think? What do you think about? What do you think when I say this? What do you think when I say this?
I wish that would be nice.
I don't believe.
You're telling me the answer. I'm answering.
I don't believe that.
I don't care what you
believe.
man.
I think
the
West is amazing.
guys.
The
Hold on.
West is
I hate to
amazing
interrupt.
because
I
it
have
is a
to do this.
peaceful,
You guys,
wonderful
you're
place
both, you
for
both won't stop.
even for ungrateful,
You guys-
disgusting, horrible
I have to
creatures
do
like
this.
yourself
Preach.
who
Wait,
advocate for
listen.
such horrible behavior.
Preacher
Why-
hate.
Why don't we
Preacher
give each of
hate.
you a minute? To
Me
make your-
hate? Do you think I
preacher
have
hate.
hate, you fucking
Yeah,
terrorist?
100%.
All right,
brother.
we're gonna jump to the next
brother.
question. Appreciate your
James,
guys'
James, I'm done here. I'm done here. I will
Yeah.
not. And
He's
I
calling
think
me a
I think it will be fair if when I leave, he leaves too, and we do not go on without me.
Why?
It would be unfair.
I feel like
I will
think
not.
it's
I will not.
He's talking about the West
Wait,
and
I will
just-
not
Hold on.
entertain.
It's just for me.
I
to
will
say my
not
point.
entertain an advocate of terrorism and violence
Where,
of
in the
somebody
West?
sitting here and basically
Wait.
threatening people like me and saying
I didn't
stuff like
threaten you.
and saying stuff like that.
I didn't threaten you. I said fight you how you're
the
fighting.
laws of violence should be applied to
No,
us.
no. I didn't
Was
say
it that-
laws of
hold on
violence.
one
I said
sec.
fight them how they're fighting. You're fighting with a lot of words. I'm fighting with a lot of words.
Or do you
wanna
think?
build
Do
an
you
army-
think? Do you think apostasy laws should be established? Yes or no? Do you think people like me? Do you think people like me should be killed? Yes or no?
I think people like you should be fought with the way you're fighting. You want to talk a lot of bullshit? I'm going to talk a lot of
Do you
truth.
think people like me should be killed in an Islamic state? Yes or no?
I would repeat it for the third time, but it's not what you're listening, okay? But you're not liking what you're hearing, so you want to sit there and take a fucking point out of me that I don't believe in. I'm
I asked
telling you
the
what God
question
said.
once again.
I don't give
In
a
an
fuck
Islam,
what you
in an
think.
Islamic state, in an Islamic society, should people like me be
You're
executed?
exiled?
Yes or no?
You're exiled. If you want to fight us, I'm gonna fuck you up the same way you're fucking us up. Very simple.
All right.
So
let's
if you're
go to
gonna
the
come
next
with
question.
swords,
This
so
is
you-
getting
so you
gonna come with
weird.
swords and
So
guns.
you didn't. So you
Hold
did
on.
not answer the question.
must jump.
Congratulations.
Let's jump to the
I
next
did.
one.
No, you
If
did not.
come to
Everybody
me-
sees it.
This is getting
If you
weird.
come to
Okay,
me
hold
with
on.
guts and
The
guns and
Batman
guns, I'm gonna
says-
come with you at guns and swords as well. But if
Wow,
you're coming in with
wow.
words, I'm
Where
coming
do you
to you
live?
at words.
Where do you live? Do you live
Brother,
in the
I
West
can find you
somewhere?
You
very
guys can
easily.
hang out later.
live in the
This
West
one
somewhere?
from the Batman
Yeah, I live in the West.
says
Okay, report it to the FBI tonight. Thank you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
says the
Go ahead.
Okay,
Hold on,
we're
James,
done with James.
chill
James.
out.
James.
Chill out.
James.
Let,
James,
let
we are
this,
done. I will
let
not
this,
continue.
let this
I will not
person know.
continue.
Let this
I will not
person know.
continue.
James, James.
I hate to mute you, but just to restore order. So hold on one sec. So okay. So
No.
okay, we hold on. He said that if you come at him with weapons, then he would do the same. So that's if there's something I missed. But I do want to.
He just told me that he would find me.
No.
That he would find me wherever I am. Isn't that what he just said? He would come
Fantasia,
at me
buddy.
with guns. Fantasia? What the
No.
hell are you talking about? Are you fucking
Fantasia.
retarded?
Listen to
All
He
right,
what-
just told
listen
me.
to what I'm
chill
saying.
out. I honestly
James,
I
can-
didn't hear.
can I say what I
maybe
said?
it is like a problem with my hearing. 'Cause
What the
I
hell is this? Where did you find this guy? Does he have like mental problems? What is wrong with you,
We
man?
have to go. Let's just.
I don't think so.
I mean, everything is here on record.
I
We
know
will
that-
report
Yeah,
this to
you
the
could
FBI
repeat
right
it.
now.
You
I
could
have
go ahead.
FBI agent
I said-
friends who meet up with me. They
Brother,
will see exactly
I
what you
have-
just said.
Listen, you want to talk about this? I have been in the States, and I
No,
have
like,
went
I
to the
just
courts in the
keep
States for
feeling
10
this
years.
conversation.
I've been.
Listen, we
Anyways,
just
I'm
have
not
a
going
few
to tell
more
you.
questions. We can wrap this up fast.
What kind of a stupid
This one-
fucking conversation
this
is this,
one
man?
from-
I tell you something and you tell me I will
No,
find
you
you.
Clarify
guys,
this. No,
please,
he said
the
whatever he throws at
Batman-
me, I will throw at you. That's all
No.
I said. Whatever you throw at me, I will throw at you.
You guys can play
وكل
catch later.
الذين
The
يقاتلون
Batman
في
says
سبيل
the
الله
atheist is
ولا
losing.
تعتدوا إن الله لا يحب
Hold on.
المعتدون.
This super chatter's on your side, Mohammed. They say the atheist is losing badly. Gerald Duckworth. So we're looking for more substantive questions than just someone. This Daryl Duckworth says religious faith is pretending to know what we do not know, and Batman responds saying atheism is pretending to know what we do not know. We're looking for real questions. Mott says created with functioning brains and asked to believe in poppycock. I don't know what that means. Alflamio says, did Allah determine the text of this super chat, or did Eris, E-R-I-S?
There is no God except the God.
James, thank you so much. I don't have the nerves to sit here anymore. Thanks
I'm
for.
sorry you
thank-
feel that way.
Can you please shut the fuck up? I'm trying to talk. I'm trying to tell somebody something which has nothing to do with you. Okay?
I'm saying
James,
I'm sorry you feel that way.
James, I
I
respect
don't have to
every,
set up
James.
everything.
All right,
oh
just-
my God. Okay, thank you. Bye, James. I'll talk to you later.
Please, we could just
Recording
oh,
stopped.
Gosh. Well, we're gonna go through these questions, at least the ones for Mohammed, to honor your questions, folks.
Appreciate it.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it. Franco Trula says, why would Allah create beings he knows who would go to hell? He set everything in place and knows how it would all interact. A cringe move.
Okay, so but at the same time, you have the free will to make a decision. So you have the will to make the world a very good place or to make the world just good for you. And if you're working for the greater good and for the world, and at that point you go to heaven. And if you're working just towards yourself, you're getting your reward here. So you made your decision, you built your own hell.
This one coming in from Digibral NTP says, let's see. Alexander says, he said people used to ask the prophet about the verse, meaning earth is egg-shaped. Can he show just one quote from that time?
Sure.
And then he says, can he show any tafsir saying that verse refers to the earth being egg-shaped? I think that may have been it for AP. This one from Digibral NTP says, Mike says, why did Allah deceive Christians and let Bible become corrupt?
It wasn't a deception. It's the fact that they made their own decisions again when the truth was revealed to them. They chose to do something other than that. And God always said in the Quran, وَلَوْلَا كَلِمَةٌ سَبَقَتْ مِنَ اللَّهِ لِأَجْلٍ مُسَمًّى لَقُضِيَ بَيْنَهُم بِالْحَقِّ. So the answer has already been given to them. So whatever they're disputing about when it comes to Christianity, to come to Judaism, even in Islam, like modern day Islam, the things that they're like having problems with, the truth is already there in the book for them, but they have to read it, and when the truth is revealed, to accept it. And there's a verse that also says that like the people of the book and the Muslims is like when there is a dispute, to bring it to the book and let God decide to judge between us, because God obviously judged everything in the books. So that's they got misguided on their own, and God pushed them into their misguidance because that's what they worked for. So that's what you do. What you put in the pot is what you're gonna eat.
Now this one is, so if I understand right, are you saying that the earth is egg-shaped?
Yes, I believe. Well,
Okay.
like if you look at an
Hold on.
ostrich.
Okay. The only reason I asked that is because, okay, then I misunderstood. The last question was not for AP, it was for you, and so is this follow-up question. They say the fact is, quote, daha in Arabic equals spread flat, not that the earth is egg-shaped. Muhammad won't find any classical scholar who says that. He is either ignorant or lying.
Okay, I'm not ignorant or lying, but the classical scholars didn't see pictures of NASA to see exactly how the world is round. But they did understand the concept of what Dahaha is, because they would talk about ostrich eggs and use the exact same word.
This one coming in from Oliver B. Perez says, for Muhammad, how do you know God is not lying to you? How do you know he's not exploiting your limited perspective?
Okay, so for me, how I know God is not lying to me is by judging what's going on around me. I don't find my success as material gains. I find my success on how much good I'm giving to the world. So if I'm standing up for the oppressed, if I'm helping my parents, if I'm being as honest as I can, even against my brothers, even against my own family, that way I see the benefits for me as a human being. It's like going to the gym and your body gets big, or you follow the rules of submission to God and your soul gets big. And then, just to kind of sidetrack to answer that question, the way I know it's true is like that Hope experiment of the gentleman that did it in 1950s, where he put rats to tread water, and after 15 minutes, all the rats drowned. But then the second time around, at the mark where the rats were going to drown, the guy saved the rats and then put them in the water again, and they would tread water for 60 hours, 80 hours, which was like 250 times more than what they did. So my faith in God is allowing me to hold on to the rope a lot longer than other people.
Franco Trullo says, why would Allah create beings he knows who would go to hell? He set everything in place and knows how it would all interact.
You asked that question.
Oh, sorry about that. This one from...
Not a problem.
Appreciate your question. Digibral NTP. Oh, I got that. They said they're happy that you stayed. And then this one, let me see. I think there was maybe one more for you.
Brother, is just
Franco
to clarify
Trullo.
the position. I didn't. He's the one who said, "Oh, where do you live?" So I thought he was asking me. And then the second thing is,
well,
like, if someone's fighting me,
while he's not here to defend himself, let's not even address it.
Yeah,
this one
right.
coming in from Franco says, if Allah is omniscient, does he know you were diverting the debate topic?
No, I was talking about what Islam is, but my opponent had a problem defining what Islam is.
Move to the next one. Alexander says, the fact is, got that one. I think that might be it. Did I miss any questions, folks? Let me know if I did. Otherwise, well, oh wait, there are actually several standard questions that came in earlier. This one coming in from Low Earth Surfer says, for Muhammad, the Earth is an obloid sphere, not an egg shape, because an egg has a small and large end, namely endians. The Earth doesn't have endians. Why is the Quran wrong on this?
Because you look at an ostrich egg, look at an Arabian ostrich egg, it looks like the Earth. It doesn't look like the typical chicken egg.
Gotcha. This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Magnificent Prophet says, according to Muslims, Allah guides who he will. Did Allah not guide AP back to him?
Well, because AP made the decision. So when God is saying how he willed, it's already been willed. So you have to put the right inputs to get to that guidance. So if someone's giving you the truth, you have to really be aware and think about what you're saying and make the decision. Sometimes the decision's not as clear, but we don't know it all. And that's the truth about what like Islam is. God knows it all, not us. So it's sometimes things won't make complete sense to us, but you have to give in to what the truth is.
You got it. Appy Frenzy says, you did not ask my question. I don't know if I saw it. Let me see if it's in this list. Otherwise, I just want to at least make sure the ones that I got both earlier in the standard questions in chat for Muhammadu. I think we had talked about this. Oliver P. Perez, we got that one. Alexander says, show any verse from the 7th century saying that the earth is egg-shaped.
Okay, so I'm going to go into the lexicon, and it's called the Arabic Edward Lexicon, and look at the word dahaha, and you'll see that they would refer to the ostrich with the same meaning. I can show you this.
In the meantime, folks, both of our guests are linked in the description. You can check out those links right now. That includes if you're listening via the podcast. We put our guest links in the podcast as well. If you didn't know that, Modern Day Debate uploads all of our debates to our podcast. It's 100% ad-free. Hey, it's convenient. Let's say you're going through town and you have some data. You know, you have a bad spot where you don't have good service, and so your data doesn't work, and you're like, man, I wish I would have downloaded this earlier. Well, you can with the Modern Day Debate podcast, available at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other podcast app out there. No joke. As well as, if you haven't hit like yet, we have 520 people watching. We can easily get to 300 likes. We are at 252. So if 48 people hit like, we'll crush that 300 goal. Appreciate your support, especially if you thought that your position was more persuasive tonight and you want more people to see it. YouTube will recommend this video more, as that's a factor in the algorithm. If you hit like, therefore more people will see your side victorious on an equal or neutral platform. Do you have that verse?
Yes, it's not a verse because we're talking about the definition of the word. The word is dahaha. So it's in the Lane lexicon, Edward Lane's lexicon, which translates Arabic root words into English. And I believe it's in the volume 3 or book 1, you could say, on page 857. And the word says daha, and it says also said of an ostrich egg. He explains and made it wide, with a foot or leg, and in place where he was about to deposit his eggs. So it's the position, and other places, the place of the lyings of the eggs. So that's the hatching thereof of the ostrich. And then later he's going. Sorry, and it's the position. Oh, sorry, it's not the position. It's the likened of the ostrich. So it's like the position of where the ostrich is putting its egg, and it's also referred to the egg later on.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question. Franco Trujillo says, yo, Muhammad, you know you can construct a moral system separate from God, don't you? No holy book and thousands of religions and opposing denominations are needed. In other words, I think they're saying you don't need religion or opposing.
You can. Sorry, I don't mean
denominations. Go ahead.
I apologize. So, yeah, of course, like people can go through rational thought and go through morality debates and go through all the hard work of understanding what's the best way to make a moral system, or take the clear guide that's right there in front of you and not go through all that pain.
This one coming in from, do appreciate your question, from Digibrail, NTP, says Muhammad, in the context how people spoke bird ostrich, they would refer to the process how ostrich prepares the earth bad before laying eggs.
Sorry, can you say that again?
This one, they say in the context how people spoke or said the word bird or ostrich, they would refer to the process of how ostrich prepares the earth bad before laying eggs.
Sorry, I'm not following what he's saying.
I don't understand it either, to be honest. I don't know if I've ever heard that before, but this one coming in from, I think that might be it. So, want to say, folks, both of our guests are linked in the description. Highly encourage you. You can check out those links, like I said, including if you're listening via the podcast. Also, like I said, if you have not hit like, we have crushed it. We have gotten 20 likes since then. We're up to 270. If you thought that your side was more persuasive in this debate, more people will see it if you hit like. No joke. YouTube factors that into the algorithm, and that will mean it will be recommended to more people here on YouTube. With that, want to say thank you to both of our guests. I'm going to be back in just a moment with an update on upcoming debates. You don't want to miss them, as they are going to be amazing. And someone told me that I didn't check Twitch, so let me check Twitch in case there were any questions over there. As well as, want to let you know, as I mentioned earlier in the debate, if you happen to share this debate, that's another way that you can make sure that more people see this debate. And Demagogue 69 says they're going, let's see. I didn't see any questions. Let's see. These just look like they're making...
I apologize, but I feel like my opponent didn't know what submission in Islam is, so maybe next time we can make it a little bit more interesting.
I just don't see in any of these questions being... Okay, they said, my core question was, can Muhammad clarify about Abraham and Jesus being Muslims? What about Buddha? Pascal's wager, how does he know Islam is the correct and final revelation? What guy asked the same thing about Mormonism?
Is that all one question?
Yes. We'll start with, can Muhammad clarify about Abraham and Jesus being Muslims?
So Islam is the submission to the will of God, so that I can make a decision, but not necessarily that my decision is always correct. So I'm going to go with the decision that what God inspires me to do or told me to do or command me to do. And Abraham and Jesus and Moses and David and Muhammad were very good, except peace be upon all of them, are all a great example in how to achieve that state of mind. So it's like, for example, it's like, oh, I'd like to eat some ice cream, or I should pray because it's the time of prayer. Most people would go like, you know what, I'll eat ice cream and then go pray. But someone who has more loyalty, he would go finish his prayer and not eat ice cream because white sugar is not good for you.
Alexander says Muhammad is twisting the lexicon's meaning with those verses on the earth being egg-shaped.
You know what? To be fair, there is twice that the word ostrich has been showed up. And they are correct. I am conceding in effect. Metha is the place of the eggs of the ostrich, right? And then the other place, which is talking about just the egg. It's like it was made wide like the egg of an ostrich. That's the other place. So I could see where the confusion is, but to me, it's God's saying that the earth is spreading it. It doesn't mean he said that it was flat, you know. And you guys are going into such certain details, which to you is like disqualifying all the Quran, but you're falling onto like little like details that are explainable, and there's people that can explain it better than me because it's such a vast language and to translate it is difficult. But you guys are missing the key concept of the Quran, which is awareness, equality, justice, being truthful, even against your own brothers and families, to standing up to the truth, to fight oppression, to pray so that you don't oppress people, to fast because it's good for you, to feed the hungry, to take care of the orphans. That's the concepts of Islam.
This one coming in from, do appreciate it, just came in. Yashua de King says, Lane lexicon is not saying Daha is egg-shaped, but speaking to how the ostrich flattens the earth. So again, the Quran is still wrong.
Okay, but I don't understand how the egg, when it's made into a nest, how that's being flattened. It's being put into a little cubicle for it to put its egg, like a little round shape. Look at all the nests in the world. No one makes a flat nest. So the point stands, and I already conceded the fact that it wasn't talking about the actual ostrich, but it was talking about where it puts the ostrich, which again looks like how the world is from the bottom.
You got it. Wow. I want to say thank you very much, folks, for being around. I'll be back in a post-credit scene letting you know about upcoming debates, so stick around. And thanks very much to our guests. As I mentioned, we will see you at the next debate as we have several more coming up this week,
Sure.
and they're going to be amazing.
God bless you, James, and all.
Amazing. We hope you feel welcome, folks. No matter what walk of life you are from, we are thrilled to have you here. And I've got to say, in addition, my dear friends, first let me say hello in the old live chat. Jean Lorette, thanks for coming by. Am I pronouncing it right? Let me know. Gigibril NTP, thanks for your question. Says Antarctica is the age of the nest. I don't know what that means, but Nikki, glad to see you here. I see you there in the old live chat. Vu, thanks for coming by. We hope you're doing well. Shrouded Grove, thanks for coming by. Good to have you here. JP Jr., thanks for coming over to Modern Day Debate. Hadia Salah, thanks for dropping in. We are at 291 likes. Amazing. Thanks for all of your guys' support. Seriously, it does mean a lot as we are striving to provide YouTube with a completely fair and neutral channel. We want to be right down the middle. We want to give everybody a fair shot to make their case on a level playing field. That's what Modern Day Debate is all about. And we hope you feel welcome, whether you be Christian, atheist, Muslim, agnostic, you name it. We're glad that you are here. And want to say, we appreciate all of your guys' support in the many, many ways. I've got to say, you guys support this channel in many ways. So, for example, seriously, just hanging out here at Modern Day Debate, just watching the streams or the video on demand after it's in our Modern Day Debate library really does help a lot. No joke. Because, again, the YouTube algorithm factors that in. It looks at what videos you like, such as the ones that you watch here at Modern Day Debate, and then it looks at other channels that have similar liking, or you could say likes, in terms of what they watch, and then they recommend Modern Day Debate to those people that have similar, because they profiles as yours on YouTube. So for real, even that really does help. So we appreciate you supporting us, being here with us at Modern Day Debate, as well as, yes, it's true, hitting share and sharing this debate. If you have friends out there, if you're like, man, I really thought that my side won, I've got to have people see this debate because it's a neutral channel. It's not like, oh, well, one side won because the moderator jumped in or something like that. No. Here, it's fair as it can be. Fair and square. That's the old phrase. It's been a long day. I'm pretty tired. But want to say Swampy Pubes, good to see you there. Says, what's up, James? Modern Day Debate. Hope you guys are having a great night. And I caught the end of it. Spicy. Thanks for coming by. Nikki, good to have you here. Living Room Speaker is glad to have you back. And thanks for coming by, Mr. Mastadox. Glad you came by. Karzan Sarabi, thanks for dropping in. Russell Gibson, glad to see you again. Jeremy Nolan, good to have you back. Helios, glad you're here, as well as Senior SEO Specialist. Thanks for dropping in. Kai H, thanks for coming by. Paula Nolan, glad to have you. Oliver B. Perez, thanks for coming by. Says, James, we need Aaron back, man. I will invite Aaron. We're hoping to have a debate with Aaron next month, so we'll see. As well as iCypher23, thanks for coming by. Dodge Shadow 99, thanks for dropping in, and thanks for appreciate your super chat. Apostate Prophet says, James, I appreciate your channel. No disrespect to what you do. I can endure the pain, the opponent, but I don't have to tolerate such horrible behavior and hate. Want to say we hope you feel welcome, folks, no matter what walk of life. I have no hard feelings, Apostate Prophet, in terms of sometimes people leave early. It's not actually that uncommon. So want to say we appreciate. I've got to tell you, you guys, the truth is this. I'll be real. The debaters are the lifeblood of the channel. So we're thankful to have the debaters on. And I've got to say, so no hard feelings, Apostate Prophet, as well as thanks for coming on tonight. You can find both of our guests linked down in the description, folks. So if you, for the first time, you were kind of like, oh, it was the first time I actually was exposed to so-and-so. Well, you can find their YouTube channel down below. Jimmy Kebab, thanks for coming by. He says, James, what's your workout routine? I need to get swole. Also love the debates. Keep doing what you do. Thanks for your kind words, Jimmy Kebab. And I love to lift weights. It's a great way to just blow off steam, handle stress. It helps a lot. So I really do. I do enjoy lifting weights. Although I got to say, I don't know, do whatever you enjoy. You know, if you enjoy running, in fact, the truth is it's good to lift, but cardio is even better for you. So if you enjoy cardio, more power to you. Do what you enjoy. Salty Kitten, thanks for coming by. We hope that you are well. Franco, true hello. I see you there in the old live chat. Thanks for dropping in. Want to say I should go. It's actually getting kind of late here. So I'm trying to get into an earlier schedule of falling asleep. Want to say thank you guys for all of your support. Thank you guys in every way for making Modern Day Debate as amazing as it is. As you guys, seriously, it really does mean more than you know. I see you there in the old Twitch chat. We got 4 people watching. Demagogue69, as well as Granny Scammer Crusher 42069. Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland, I see you there in the old Twitch chat. Thanks for dropping by. And our little buddy Stardust is streaming. I forgot how to do the raid thing. How does this work? You do like raid/Stardust /Stardust. How do I do the raid, Stardust? Tell me the secret. But yes, we do appreciate Stardust, our little sister. We love her. That's it. Okay, let's see. /raid. Okay. Like if you're watching on Twitch, humor me and go check out our Twitch, and that way we can raid Stardust stream. Stardust is like, I seriously just, she's funny. She makes me laugh. She's like, oh, how do I do this? I got to do it on our Twitch. Okay. So let me figure this out. I have said it before. Stardust is YouTube's favorite daughter. She is funny. Okay, ready? So we're going to raid. We got 3 viewers in Twitch. Oh yeah, we're going to raid. It's going to be a tremendous raid. It is going to be gigantic. And I want to say, though, for real, Stardust is a regular debater and panelist on the show. We appreciate her. She's funny. I can't help but watch her face and just how she responds to like controversial stuff. It's just funny. I'm entertained by it. But yeah, want to say, JP Jr., thanks for your kind words. Says, thanks, James. Thank you. Samir says, James, you missed my super chat comment. Let's see. Said, kudos to Muhammad. And let's see. I just don't want to fuel that fire in terms of like the conflict. Let's see. They said morals aren't just verbal claims, rather. But I want this. Here's the thing: is I don't want to fuel that conflict, because the way that conflict, the way I see it, is it is what you make it. If you see it as like I'm we'll never forgive over this, I'm angry over this, then how do I go? Let's see. Then, if you do that, then what I was saying was, oh man, I'm so tired. I should go. But what I was trying to say was, I'm so tired. Bear with me, guys. Oh, yeah. I don't want to fuel the fire of, like, the conflict. But, at the same time, you don't want to, don't consider, here in the chat, if you get in an argument with somebody or whatever, wherever you get in an argument, I would always recommend, it's good to say, like, water under the bridge. Like, and, it is how you interpret it, is what I'm saying. Community of God, thanks for coming by. And said, AP said, where do you live? And Muhammad says, I'll find you. If that's true, like, and I'm not joking, I will be serious. I know that I sound drunk, Gene. I'm really that tired. It's because I had so many carbs. Now I'm having like a crash. If that's true, then I agree that would be weird. And it would sound very threatening. I honestly didn't hear that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. If I would have heard that, I would have said, like, okay, this is getting like super, like, because YouTube won't allow, like, terms of service wise. So if you timestamp me, if there's something like that was inappropriate, that violates terms of service, such as threatening somebody, for real, give me the timestamp. I'll go back and then I'll handle it, because I honestly, if there was something like that, I didn't hear it. So I'm not trying to take any sides. I will follow the terms of service for YouTube. Like Malik Sirabrykov, thanks for coming by. Glad you were here. And let's see here. V. Thomas, thanks for coming by. And then Master Optic says, James is the only person I know who gets drunk from a soy latte. That's funny. And Alexander Howlett, says, what are the next debates? So we're working on a panel, is there a war on women, for this Tuesday. We're also working on a debate, is diversity good, this Wednesday. So a couple of political ones that we're connecting or putting together, as well as Thursday, we're hoping to have a debate on the flood of Noah, possibly, or whether or not Christianity is true. And if we don't, then we'd actually probably release a Muslim versus Christian debate from the vault, because we have a lot of debates in the vault. Then Friday we might have a flat Earth one. That's still up in the air. And then Converse might host T-Jump and Ken Ami on Christian ethics versus atheist ethics on Saturday. So we do have a pretty good amount of debates coming up. But like I said, it's getting late. I got to run. I love you guys. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for all of your support. And yes, if you haven't yet, thanks, Russell Gibson, for your kind words in the live chat. If you haven't yet, check us out on your favorite podcast app, because we do put our debates on the podcast. You can open it up right now if you have your phone. I know a lot of you guys watch through your phone. You can open it up, and you can find all of our debates on there, as well as, if you haven't yet, you could rate us, give us feedback on the app. So want to say thanks, everybody. I love you guys. I hope you have a great rest of your night. Keep sifting out the reasonable from the unreasonable. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys. I love you. I hope you have a great rest of your night.